Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our first ever Boys and Girls Club of Contra Costa podcast. I am your host, James, co-hosting with Sheila Kelly behind the camera over here. And we are going to go ahead and introduce everyone around the table, starting over here.
Hello, I'm Ari. I'm actually a program specialist at Reid Soskin Middle School, and I run programs like Healthy Habits, STEM, Art, and Triple Play. Yeah.
My name is Kylan Patterson. I'm a program specialist at Reid Soskin, and I mainly run Triple Play, and I like to work on physical education. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rogelio Zaragoza Sanchez. I am the site director. I oversee day-to-day operations. I equip the great staff at Betty Reid with whatever they need. I'm doing my best to bring a great program, creating a culture of respect, inclusion, and a fun environment for the kids to maximize their potential.
Alrighty, and I am, as I said, James. I am the videographer and IT specialist here at the Boys and Girls Club. I've been here for 8 years now, and I'm finally in the position I really want to be in after all these years. So I do like STEM. I was in the STEM position before this and had a blast with that, but my true passion is with doing this production here. So this is our first one ever. So here we go. So my first question to start off our conversation is, what led all of you to choose this line of work? And anyone can start at any time, or you can elaborate from there. Just what chose you to pick this line of work?
I'll go. So I was 16, and I'd already been at the Boys and Girls Club since I was 7. So I already had, experience that. I volunteered after I turned 13. And one day, one of the other, I forget what call like heads of the one of the clubs asked me if I wanted to have a summer job at a Salesian Boys and Girls Club, the one in Richmond. And I didn't have a job lined up for that, and I just turned 16, so I accepted, not really knowing how to work with kids. But it was a journey at first. It's different working with kids if you never worked with them. You kind of have to figure all of them out individually. The one thing you can't do is like assume all of them are the same. They all got different personalities and quirks and traits, so you got to work with that. But it was a fun experience, fun enough for me to want to do it again the next year. And then took a break from that, just finished high school, but found myself back doing it again. So, if the cards are right, it's fun, or it's an experience.
That's great. I've heard nothing but positives so far, so you fit right in.
I can go next. The reason I chose this line of work is because, not for the money, I chose it because, growing up, I didn't have mentors growing up, and I was going on the wrong path. It wasn't for me going to an after-school program, my life would have been different. And that's where I met some caring, consistent adults there. If it wasn't for them, then, like I said, I wouldn't be in the place I'm in right now. So I want to be that consistent, caring adult that somebody was for me for somebody else.
All right, very good reason. I like that.
Yeah, similar to what Kai said, I've kind of just been a club kid pretty much my whole life. Especially here in Martinez, I've grown up here since I was in 2nd grade and came to this exact club ever since 2nd grade. And to the point, even James was pretty much one of the specialists back when I was a club kid. And to see now, the whole position change from being a club kid thinking, oh, if I were to be a staff member, or if I had to pick the ideal staff member, this is what it would look like. And now having the opportunity to pretty much fulfill that dream in a way, that dream program specialist that I wanted to have when I was a kid, that's pretty much what I'm doing now. So yeah, it's been a cool experience growing up being a club kid, a foster club kid, and to now I'm a program specialist running the programs that I was once actually a member in. So it's definitely a crazy transition to see.
That's been a trend I've been noticing here in Martinez. A lot of former club kids have been coming on board as staff members, which is really nice to see. Myself I started coming here when I was about 6 years old, and all the way through a lot of family family trauma and divorce and everything like that, and it was not a very safe at-home environment. So we came here, and this was our home away from home, and I went here all the way through elementary school, middle school, high school, volunteered all through high school, and I had an opportunity to work here through a county program while I was in high school, and I was paid by the county. So it was this. I forget the whole gist of it because it's been so long now. But started going here, and then I graduated in 2013 and did my last summer through the program, and they did a job interview with me, and I got hired at the start of the school year for 2013, 2014. I've been here ever since. And for me, I'm the youngest in my family, so I always wanted to kind of know what it was like to be the older brother, because my older brothers did such a good job protecting me and kind of, for lack of a better term, sheltering me from a lot of the trauma that we went through as a family. So I kind of wanted to be that shield for younger members here that were going through really similar experiences. And so throughout this whole job, I've been able to fulfill that. And now I'm jump-starting my career with a lot of other opportunities that this job is offered. And I love working here. It's great.
And that's one of the goals we should always have, just to develop those young leaders to come back to the community. You know, that's the goal for us, even at Betty Reid, to see those kids come up and, you know, eventually be the staff members, eventually have them be the site directors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the ultimate goal, is to have them run it someday.
That's really interesting. So, how do you guys feel when people say things like, "Well, it's just babysitting"? They're just a babysitting service, or they may not say it, but they treat you as though just, I don't care.
Very
just,
surface
as long
level.
as my kid is okay until 6:30, I'm fine with that. How do you guys feel about that? Because you're much more than babysitting, and I know that, having been in the trenches with you guys, I know what it feels like. But tell me, how do you feel when people say that? And that's to you too, James.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
I think when people say that, they tend to see it as a very like surface level kind of just overall they see the club as just very surface level. They tend to not understand that we're like diving much deeper than that. Excuse me. Like, it's pretty much like you said, like, it's a home away from home for a lot of kids. That's how it was for myself. And I mean, at first, when I first heard about the club, not gonna lie, as like a member, I was like, oh, this is just a hangout spot. We're all just gonna come here and chill and kick it. They're not my parents. They don't really care. But deep down, it's just all they care about is your character development and just overall how you are gonna be a human in the society. So yeah, it's much deeper than just a daycare, just after school program. It's pretty much like, sounds cliche to say, but we're pretty much like building the future. That's pretty much exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, and like, there's like a difference between babysitting and mentoring. You know, like babysitters wouldn't do what we do, like with kids, like, and our job is mentors first. You know, it's to teach them right from wrong, good life lessons, ways to be good members of society. You know, we want them to leave with like a lesson every day, something that they can carry on with for a while.
You know, one thing I'm gonna say is like, I'm not there to babysit. I'm not there to clean up for your kid. You know, I'm there to bring a great program for the kids, to develop the kids. You know, if it's a STEM program, if it's gardening, if it's whatever it is, you know, we just want to bring in different program for the kids to grow as people. And for them to have fun.
For me, as I've been saying it for years, whenever we get calls about it or hear parents refer to us as a daycare, it really does kind of grind my gears a little bit, because we're not a daycare. We are an after-school program. We are an after-school facility, and we do quite a bit more than, making sure we have a nap time and a snack time. We sometimes are mentors for these members when they're going through some really dark periods, and other times, we're their shoulder to cry on when something's not going well at home. We are mentors to them, and sometimes the only positive adult figures they have in their lives. So sometimes for me personally, to hear us be referred to as a daycare does not give us justice at all. Daycare is not the term I would use to describe this position or this type of job at all.
No shade on the daycare.
Yeah.
No shade on that at all. No shade on that at all.
shade at
Two
all.
sides to the
It's
same
just a
coin.
difference.
Yes.
It's just a difference. I know that a lot of parents, do have, and that's why this was important for us, because we want people to see, again, we are more than just the badges and the t-shirts. We are human beings who are dedicated to this profession. I was just saying that to you guys. This profession is a choice. It's not just something that you go into because you want to buy a new cell phone. It is really, it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of patience to do this. Tell me, in working together, what was probably the time together that you most, the kids tested your patience? Like, what is the scenario that you all together collectively said,
Oh, yeah.
woo!
I think that's like a
This
daily
ain't worth the
occurrence.
money.
Yeah.
But more than a daily, it's probably those minimum days, man. That's
Oh, yep.
Tell everybody what that is.
minimum day is basically when they get out early, so we spend more time with them, and it's good. It's got its highs, I guess, but it's definitely tough. It tests your will, your mentality, because you can't predict children. That's the one thing I learned is you can't predict them.
And that's a good thing, right? Because half of it it's a double-edged sword. Half of it is, that's what makes them so fantastic.
Exactly.
Because you can't predict what they'll do. But then that's what makes them so challenging, because you can't predict what they do. Go ahead, Rogelio.
And I think just dealing with those minimum days, I feel like we got closer as a group, but also just seeing the staff and just seeing how resilient they are, just makes me appreciate them more. Just how hard they work, especially in those days that are super hard. We get those minimum days get super hard sometimes.
Yeah, those minimum days get super long. Have me checking the clock a couple times. I'm just like, oh, it's only been 30 minutes. Wow, look at that. But like, other than that, like minimum days, like, yeah, like any other day, it's a surprise. That's one thing I've definitely learned, because this is like my first actual, I don't even want to say job, but like career in which I've worked with like kids, because I'm so used to working in like retail, food industry, that kind of stuff. So like coming into a place where it's just very unpredictable every day, it's kind of, yeah, it keeps me on my toes, but that's kind of like one of the thrills that I really enjoy about working here.
Adding on to that too is that it does get kind of exhausting sometimes. I think we can
Yeah.
all agree on is
Very.
it gets
but-
exhausting because in other lines of work, for example, say an office job, for example, no discount to any office workers listening, but to an office worker, you would be dealing with adults day to day and are at your level. Whereas with members here, we are working with adolescents and members and young ones that are still growing up and still learning to be people, still learning to be themselves. So it is exhausting sometimes where it's like, okay, I got to take a step back for a moment. So, yeah, it can get exhausting, especially at the end of the day, because sometimes at the end of the day, I think I speak for all of them when we say we want some of that adult contact, we want some of that adult interaction sometimes after really long days. But there's no other job like it.
Yeah.
There's no other job like it in the world, and I love it.
Well, that's interesting. So, like, what is it that you guys do to relax? I mean, what is it? How do you go when you go home? Because I know when you're in corporate, corporate, they get together after work, they go out for a drink, they might have a beer after work. We're held at a different standard, so we can't do that. So what is it you do to relax? Do you kind of just hang out with friends, or do you go home and go straight to bed? Because I know a lot of us, no matter how young you are, there's a lot of staff has done, look, I'll just go home and rest for the rest of the day, because it's tough. So what do you do? What are some of your likes that you do outside of Betty Reid and Boys and Girls Club?
Yeah, I
So
like
you hang
to.
out with friends? Or
I like to nap.
you like to go to yeah.
Yeah, when I
Straight
get
go to
home,
bed.
eight times out of 10, I'm probably going to take a nap. That's it. I get home, say what's up to the folks, siblings, and just knock out because
Yeah.
it's a long day.
I think for me, on the weekends when I get time, I like to go, play some golf or go to the driving range and hit some golf balls. Another thing is I love sports, so I like to watch football. Go Niners.
Whatever.
And one thing too that keeps me level in this industry is just meeting with other adult men and just getting together, reading books and stuff, and that really learning from them. You know what I mean? Because this is a tough industry where you have to pour out, but you also have people to pour into your life too to pour out. So that's what keeps me level.
Yeah, got to be able to recharge and kind of pour from a full cup rather than an empty cup.
Yep.
But yeah, especially being a college student too, because I'm just balancing school right now as well. But yeah, learning how to juggle just everything. It's been an experience, but I mean, definitely those times in which I get to go home and just rest and recharge is much needed. But like some things I do is like I'm going to school right now for fine arts. So in my free time, I do a lot of like expressive art, pretty much anything creative from like writing to like drawing, painting, anything like that. And yeah, that's about it really. Just art all the time.
I'll be honest, sometimes I go home, I just play video games.
But that too.
I'll
That
just
too.
be
Hey,
right
that
out
too.
and just say it.
That's 2 out of 10.
I just go home and sit down and play video games. But I have a dog to take care of, so I usually take Ripley out, and you all have met Ripley. So I usually take her out, and she gets always really excited whenever I get home. So my relaxing routine is I take her out and spend some time with Ripley and say hi to my folks, and I go inside, sit down, watch some YouTube subscriptions, and then I play some video games and I relax that way. Not every day do I play video games, but just more often than not, that's what I do with my free time. That's what I do because I know that there's gonna be. I'm coming up. I feel like I'm coming up to a point where I won't be able to do that pretty soon. So that is something I enjoy doing. It's always kind of been my comfort thing for my whole life so far.
I think it's good for everybody to know that you guys have, other interests.
Yeah.
Besides your profession. I do think that parents or, maybe donors don't understand just the awesome responsibility that each one of you have in terms of how you conduct yourself outside of your profession. Like I said, we have to be very careful what we say on social media and how we interact outside of when we're out in public. I mean, we still have shirts on and people recognize it. I don't know if you guys have experienced where people walk up and say, "Oh, Boys and Girls Club? Oh yeah, I used to." And we have to be very mindful of how we interact with the public. I know there's been times that I've been really challenged by somebody in a retail line, and I have to bring it all the way down because I'm representing Boys and Girls Club, and there's times when I might want to use words that are not necessarily ladylike, but I remember that I am a Boys and Girls Club employee. So I think that the parents and outsiders, whatever you want to say, really need to understand just how hard it is or how mindful you have to be when you're off work as well as when you're on. Because when you're working with kids, we have a lot of rules. We have a lot of stuff, not to only protect the children, but protect the staff, which brings me to that awful word, COVID. Ooh. How have you guys been dealing with COVID? Because you guys are essential workers. You really are. What do you do? How are you coping with that as a team? Being exposed constantly by kids who may or may not be vaccinated. What do you do? How do you deal with that?
I think that just anything in life, you just got to make adjustments in life. If we have to go virtual, we'll go virtual. If we make the kids stay 6 feet apart as best as possible. Keep their mask on. there's always adjustments that can be made at all times. You know, you just when life throws you a curveball, you gotta switch up your stance and hit a home run with it.
Yeah, definitely with COVID, just like the big lesson I could take away from it is just like the importance of flexibility. Because I know, like, not even that long ago, we had a staff meeting and we had to completely just redevelop a calendar just in case we go virtual. So, pretty much just being ready for that next step, being ready for pretty much expecting the unexpected. That's, yeah, the big takeaway. So, I mean, and just with COVID, every day is a surprise, really. Like, you never know what's going to happen. But main thing, just being flexible.
I've found it to be getting, especially when we have exposures, frustrating is probably the best word I would use for that. Is it's frustrating. A lot of us, because we're here in California, sometimes live with our parents or we live with roommates or other family members. And when we're exposed, it puts a lot of them at risk as well. For example, my mother had a severe heart attack a couple weeks ago, and she's at home right now recovering. She's expected to make a full recovery, but she's immunocompromised right now. So any sort of COVID exposure, my brothers were my stepbrothers. One of them had a confirmed case, and she couldn't go home to visit him or any of that because of her stuff was all there. So she's been at my apartment the whole time. So it is definitely frustrating when you're not only having to worry about your own safety, but the safety of your family members at home as well.
See, we are human. We have phones.
Yep.
Hey, that was my alarm to go to Betty Reid, so that's responsibility.
Yep.
So.
I mean, the whole thing with COVID for me is just like one step forward, two steps back every time, because it's like we'll have protocols in place and then it'll just throw a 180 and break all protocol, and then we'll have to make new protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to try to work around that. And it's kind of just like this cycle of like trying to balance, staying safe and working, but having to like make new like new rules and like regulations for each time, something new happens. And it's frustrating, but, we worked around it so far. So it's not too bad. It's not great, but it's not like terrible. So.
And think about it. This is the first time in almost about 100 years since Spanish flu since we've had to do lockdowns and mask mandates like this. So, it's kind of a history repeating itself, but it's also the first time for all of us experiencing something like this. So it's always an ever-changing environment, and it's shown a lot of different opportunities, and unfortunately, it's killed other opportunities as well. Yeah, it's definitely a changing environment. Wouldn't you all say?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Very, very much so.
Took away my prom. That's all I'm gonna say on that. That was one thing I'll never forgive COVID for.
Yeah, it has done a lot to your personal life, right?
Mhm.
I mean, everybody, but it's also affected your relationships with the children as well, right? Because
Yeah.
now, it used to be a time where kids needed, back when I was teaching a million years ago, but I mean, kids needed hugs. They needed some kind of physical touch. And even though we, regulated, we have to do side hugs, but kids still need that, and we can't do that anymore. So COVID has robbed us of a more personal touch, if you will. It has robbed us of that. But with COVID, what have you gained? Like, what do you see differently that you could look back and say, well, at least with COVID, I was able to, fill in the blank. What have you done with that COVID has made you feel that, well, there is an improvement somewhere? Is there anything? I mean, maybe there's nothing. That's a hard one.
I feel like that one's definitely a hard one.
I think there's like one maybe like before COVID I was kind of like like a mess. I wasn't really like organized. But with COVID, it made me like, kind of like take a step back and kind of just like plan things out, or be able to make like a backup plan just in case things goes wrong. It's kind of kept me like consistent in a way, and so I'm a little bit more organized in like my like daily, actions. So it's kind of made me like a little bit more responsible in a way, just a little bit.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It's definitely made me a lot more responsible about considering tomorrow, because when you're young, you feel like you're invincible, nothing can touch you. And then you have the world throw a curveball at you like COVID, and suddenly everything's up in the air going, okay, what about tomorrow? So, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, definitely one thing that COVID has put into perspective is just like pretty much just like the importance of certain things in my life. Like I remember, because like COVID, I graduated 2019, and then pretty much I was getting ready to go to UC Santa Cruz. Actually, I was accepted, ready to go, super excited, and then just lockdown, and it was just all hell broke loose, and it was just very put a lot of stuff into perspective where it kind of made me really consider like it really is one day at a time. It really is like go with the flow. You can't really like control things, and it's very just put a lot of things into perspective where it changed my overall just values and just morals, and kind of made me realize how important it is to keep connections, like real connections rather than kind of materialistic connections in a way. So it definitely just realigned my entire values.
Really quick, I wanted to touch on the question Sheila asked was to answer is I was able to really kind of shine myself, really be able to express myself with the video production and be able to go, hey, I can help. Because before it was kind of a side thing and a career I was working on the side and eventually going to transition to. But when COVID happened, we had this amazing, unique, once in a lifetime opportunity to go, hey, we can really do something here. And we were able to develop our YouTube channel and our virtual programs. And we were one of the first clubs in the country to start doing virtual at the beginning of lockdown. We went on furlough. 3 days later, I got a call with an idea saying, I think we can do this. And I said, we can do it. So we started off by using some of my personal equipment, and eventually we were able to get some of the equipment we're using now for this podcast. And we were able to grow a YouTube channel with 200 videos posted over the past year, but a few dozen live events, and a bunch of other small things we've been able to do because of this opportunity we were given. And I was really, really happy that I was able to use that for this. And we're still using it. I'm very happy I finally get to use these skills I've been building since high school. Even before that, I've always had a video camera in my hand. So it's really exciting for me personally.
And we're glad to have you. We're very lucky to have a professor.
Yeah, I think one thing I learned was to always have a plan B and a plan C and a plan D. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All the way through Z.
Yep.
Just be prepared for anything and everything. You just have everything planned out. Just be prepared to
Yeah.
change some things.
So in our wrap up for today, I have one last question. James, you might have one too, but my last question is shout outs. Let's give some shout outs to some folks. Y'all tell me who you want to give shouts out to. I mean, I want to shout out definitely to the Betty Reid kids out there, because they're going through some things, some really, really challenging things. And it's not them personally. I think it's just the what they're having to deal with out there. And yet, I have really in the short time that I worked with them, I was felt so connected to each one of those kids. And I got to give shouts out to them because they're just really amazing kids. I love them all. I'm shouting out to Joshua. I'm shouting out to Jalea. I got to. Oh, I feel like I'm at the award show, how you can't remember the names. Like, who else can I shout out to? Anthony. And I really, they have really captured my heart. So I got to give shouts out to each one of those individuals. They are amazing people out there. So, and the staff too.
I want to give shout out to the staff, Ari and Kai, just working hard each and every day. Just the Boys and Girls Club of Contra Costa as well. You know, just for them, just helping us out and just giving us what we need to succeed.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm going to give my shout out to Sheila.
Ooh, hi.
I'm giving my shout out to Sheila for really kind of building up this confidence in me and trust in me and really making me feel like I can actually do my job now, and really feel confident enough to call the shots on productions and call the shots on all of our IT stuff and inventory and all that. I feel very comfortable and confident, all thanks to Sheila there. So I'm giving a shout out to Sheila for all that credit.
That's why I call you the professor. You know what's going on here.
I want to give a shout out to everybody pretty much who I've been working with, you know, especially James for having us come in and do this podcast. You know, it's an interesting experience because my dad does it too, and it's nice to see to have like, or to do it myself. Actually, it's pretty fun. And most importantly, I want to shout out myself, of course, you know, for holding it down. For holding it down and, you know, doing what I have to do. So yeah, those shouts I want to give.
Yep, got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, I have to say shout out to like the staff at Betty Reid, like coming in, kind of felt really, really nervous, not gonna lie. Like me and you started at the same exact time. But so having you there, like kind of starting out at square one with me has like, I don't even think you realize how much pressure that's taken off me. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, you're
thank you. And Kai, thank you for taking over Triple Play. You do a great job. Great job. And just, yeah, I think just our overall staff, shout out to them. Also want to say shout out to Aviana. Shout out to Avi for even getting me this job. Like, if it wasn't for her, yeah, I wouldn't be here. So, yeah, shout out Avi.
All right.
Yeah, she came through. She came through.
Alrighty. And that's everyone's answers, yeah? All right, I think with that, we'll wrap up our first podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Tune in for more. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this week's podcast. Tune in next week, where we interview all staff featured on today's episode, and the week after, where we have our first ever member-featured podcast. It was very exciting to record. The members had a lot of fun recording it, and we're excited for you to hear it. So stay tuned. We'll see you then.